Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the 412 Double Play podcast. I am, as always, your host, Michael Castrogano, talking Greensboro Grasshoppers ball this week. So, of course, I brought back resident Grasshoppers expert, knower of all things Pirates prospects, Anthony Murphy. Murph, welcome back to the show. What, a month apart? Honestly, Ed takes longer stints away from the show than you.
How's it going, man? Happy to be back on here.
Third time on the show now. Second time to talk about Grasshoppers, because they're kind of, I don't want to talk down about the Grasshoppers because they get a lot of talent. The organization overall is just very new. They're not like the stepchild. They're more like Cousin Oliver in that they're new and sometimes a little bit forgotten about and maybe aren't as closely connected. Like, Altoona is right by Pittsburgh. Indianapolis has been there since like 2005, I want to say 2006. So they've been part of the organization for a long time. Bradenton, obviously right by Pirate City, but Greensboro being new, replacing West Virginia, was it? No, I'm forgetting.
I think West Virginia.
They replaced West Virginia. Yeah. I mean, Bradenton used to be high A, moved to low A, and Greensboro took over with the high A. But what is there like a reason why Greensboro, outside of the reasons that I've named, obviously, is there a reason why Greensboro is kind of like this island to Pirates fans and the organization?
Well, yeah, I guess it's just like you said, every other affiliate has some sort of ties and stuff to it. You think about AAA, maybe not as many ties, but like that's kind of like the waiting station, if you want to put it there. So like maybe fans know of more of the players that are sitting in AAA at that point. So Greensboro's kind of just like stuck, stranded in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. So it's easy to overlook, I guess, at times. And with just like so much, with how much of like a hitter friendly ballpark it is, I guess sometimes it's gotten to the point to where maybe people don't pay too much as mind because they know that those numbers aren't going to hold true maybe at the next level, that kind of thing. So
that definitely is something we take into consideration when rating prospects and their performance there. Grasshoppers, as an organization, kind of had a rebrand this offseason, change their logo to a more cartoony kind of look, tweak the colors slightly. I did read something this past offseason about how ownership has indicated wanting to make at least one major change, improvement to either the park, to like something with regards to the team, to be a better organization overall. I mean, they were independent ball before becoming part of the Pirates organization 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not 100% on the change. It's not bad, but what are your thoughts, if there are any?
Well, I do like I saw like the rebranding thing, and I saw the T-shirts, and I've already been instructed by my girlfriend to the next time that I'm in Greensboro, I am to return with one of those T-shirts. So
okay,
yeah. So the new logo and everything like that, that's pretty cool. You know me with the I usually collect the hats and stuff like that. If we get something new, a new alternate or something like that, I might grab me one of those as well too while I'm down there. So.
I'd be more inclined to get. Maybe would get it on a hat. I've got to look into it more. But it is an interesting organization, and obviously a lot of our top prospects have kind of cycled through there. In 2023, speaking for the rotation, looking at the pitching side, at times included Thomas Harrington, Bubba Chandler, Anthony Solometto, Braxton Ashcraft. I mean, these are some of the top-ranked pitching prospects, guys we've seen this past week in spring training. Unlikely that those guys are going to be in Greensboro this upcoming season, given how they performed. Some of them I think all of them got promoted by season's end. Talked last week about some of them and how they did in Bradenton. Who are the arms to watch for in Greensboro this upcoming season?
So this year, I think it's going to be an interesting year, especially how like the roster shapes out, because you look at the potential Altoona rotation and how stacked, I guess is the only way you can do it, is that I feel like there's a chance for a trip. Like how the rotation for Altoona is set up is going to have a really big indication on what the Greensboro rotation looks like. There are probably going to be some names that pitched in Greensboro last year and pitched quite a bit that will probably stay behind. And I think one of the guys there that probably is like an odd man out at that point is going to be like Po Yu Chen. Had a pretty good year last year. He never much of a big flashy guy as far as stuff, but had a very solid season. Pitched over 100 innings. But just like the sheer numbers, especially if you're talking about like Paul Skeens or something like that, starting in Altoona to begin the year, that's especially gonna kind of you start talking about probably a couple odd man out and stuff like that. So I probably looked at his Po Yu Chen probably be a guy who sticks around in the Greensboro rotation at least to start the year. He'll probably be the guy who fills Paul Skeens' spot once Paul Skeens moves up. JP Massey was another interesting guy last year, at least during his time in Bradenton, kind of burst on the scene, was like a college signing. Mm-hmm. Not too much thought about him at first. Started picking up some steam during spring last year. Made the futures game during the All-Star break. Control issues.
Yeah, well, he had a crazy first half.
Yeah, he had an incredible first half. The control, you can see kind of go downhill and stuff like that. So like he'll be an interesting guy to kind of figure out like how the Pirates want to use him. I mean, I'm sure they'll probably want to try him in the rotation again, but he may be a guy because of the control that probably ends up in the bullpen. I think the Bradenton rotation obviously you would kind of assume that, like whoever was in the Bradenton rotation last year, everyone kind of moves up a level each year. I think there are a couple of names in the Bradenton rotation that are kind of candidates to stay in Bradenton, not really because of performance, more of like they're still kind of young, still kind of figuring stuff out. Like there's Alexander Urkelani is a guy that I was really high on. He's still going to be 19 years old when the season starts, so I can see a scenario. And he didn't pitch in August or September to close out the year. So I guess he's a guy that I would be really intrigued to see how he does in Greensboro. But for the sake of the injury and there's still some control issues and the age, he may stay behind. One of the Owen Kellington, I think a really big Kellington guy. I think we talked about him on the prospect show that I was on.
We may have
there. I think he was. Yeah. So
I'm
a really big Kellington guy. Yeah, he was. He's kind of a guy that I feel like he probably should get the push to Greensboro, but also you could kind of see a scenario in which he hangs around. Probably the guy that had the guy who probably the big name guy that'll probably be in Greensboro would be Hunter Barco. College draft pick coming off Tommy John. Again, he's another guy that you could probably make a small case to start in Bradenton again, just to kind of work out, stretch things out again to try to monitor innings. So there's a lot of questions as far as the Greensboro pitching staff in general. It just kind of depends on how things shakes out. But those would probably be like the bigger name guys that would probably start off there as well.
Yeah. Po Yu Chen, 119 and 2/3 innings last season, led the team in innings, led the team in strikeouts with 124. Was kind of the workhorse there, 4.44 ERA. I mean, that's a lot of innings for considering
for someone in high A.
Yeah, at high A. You mentioned with Massey, walk issues, 23 walks in 31 innings in Greensboro. Obviously, that's not great, especially when he only had 26 strikeouts. And then, Urkelani, not even 20. I think he turns 20 this month, maybe something like that.
I think it's like end of April. The regular season will start before he turns 20. I'm not sure of the date, but I know he'll still be 19 when the regular season starts.
Yeah, and you mentioned that he was not pitching at the end of the season. He was tentatively sent to the Arizona Fall League, and I think maybe he
He
pitched
pitched.
an inning or two there.
He pitched like I think it was like 3 2/3 or something like that. The
Yeah,
walks like were insanely like his control was like really bad. He
and then
he does have some control issues. I don't think it's not nearly as bad as it showed in the fall league. So I so yeah so like he pitched some in the fall league, but he didn't pitch in like minor league action that last couple months of the season.
yeah, but I mean, a lot of really fun starting pitching. Obviously, their
Yeah.
last season, and starting pitching's where you get your relievers from. A lot of the time, guys like Cy Nielsen, who was there last year, he I think was drafted as a starter, maybe mixed. Had a solid enough season, 39 games last year. Dante Mendoza, I think he was like one of the highest in relief innings, 46 innings pitched, 34 games, 3.13 ERA. Are there any like future big back bullpen arms down there, or is this one of those wait until the starting pitching kind of thins
Well,
out and then pull from there?
there are a couple interesting names that I thought that could end up in or that are kind of starting out in the bullpen now that had pretty good years. Like calling anyone like if you're in the bullpen and you're already in like the lower and you're still in the lower levels, usually that doesn't trend well for you as far as making it too far up the ladder. But like I know Baseball America talked about Brandon Bideau. I'm not too sure how to pronounce it. Threw like 20 some innings last year, really high strikeout rate. Has a really good had a good fastball, had curveball with a like a little cutter to go with it. He's someone that like if you want to say that he's like a actual relief prospect, he's a guy there. Joshua Loshorn, he was like the last pick of the 2022 draft for the Pirates. He had a pretty good year out of the bullpen. Ryan Harbin was another guy that was mentioned by either Baseball America or some other like national outlet as a like a reliever prospect to watch. He's like a sinker.
Harbin was the one I was.
Guy.
Yeah, I was going to mention Harbin because that's the one that Ben Picorni mentioned last week when I was talking about the Marauders with him, and he had in Bradenton 32.2 innings. Yeah, K per 9 of 12.12. Let me see if I've got the K percentage. 33.6% K rate. Like he still walked 11.5% of the time, but you know he's a relief pitcher that's kind of more acceptable.
Yeah, you could probably live. I mean, in the lower levels of the minors, like 11.5%, it probably isn't ideal, but like that with a reliever, you could learn to live with that if you're still striking out people and stuff like that. But no, he's a solid. He got
that's
beat up
Chapman
a little bit
numbers,
whenever.
Really.
Yeah, he got beat up a little bit once he got to Greensboro. I did see him while I was there last year, and he had like this. It was like he struck out the side in like his only inning, and the slider is really good. The sinker plays well with it. So like I've been like I've mentioned it before too when I'm running. Like I've been burned many times about when it comes to like lower level relievers. So like I try not to put too much stock into them anymore. But there are, if like you wanted to look at a couple, there are a few of interesting note, and they will probably start in Greensboro this year.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, if they're a relief pitcher in high A, it's typically not a good sign, but you never know. Some guys, they just find that one inning spot and excel and are able to thrive in that.
Yep.
But shifting over to the offense, and you mentioned already, we say it every time we talk about Greensboro, you take the numbers with a little less face value because of the power boost you get playing in Greensboro. It's just a little bit of skepticism we've seen far too often in recent seasons. A player who is able to like go off in Greensboro, have crazy amounts of power, and then not be able to replicate that when they move up to Altoona. Mason Martin, Matt Frazier. I don't want to say Matt Gorski because he still had a 2020 season last year. The past 2 years, really. So, but it is something that we have seen guys kind of get into the whole I can be a power bat when they're not really a power guy.
Yeah.
because you could like something out for power. I mean, Mason Martin, that was pretty much all he was going to be. But the big story in Greensboro last year, 2020 season from Jace Bowen, I think it was like closer to 25-25. Followed that up with a strong performance in Arizona Fall League. Mentioned the Matt Frazier, Matt Gorski, guys who had those big breakouts previous 2 seasons there. Who is going to be the big name to watch for a breakout in Greensboro this year in that sort of trajectory?
So, I mean, like the 2 big names there that probably come to mind is who will start there. Maybe they're not going to they're not names that are going to have like the helium when it comes to those other ones, Matt Frazier and stuff like that, who kind of come out of nowhere and stuff like that.
Do I
Tamar
know who you're going to
Johnson
say?
and Lonnie White Jr.
Oh, okay. I was thinking Jack Brannigan.
Jack Brannigan, like he hit for a ton of power there too. I think the power is a little bit more legit, and I think he's a little bit more of a legit prospect compared to like Frazier and Gorski, where they are. But Tamar and Lonnie White, they'll both probably start there, but they're more legitimate prospects on there. I do think that we'll have to watch for someone like Lonnie White just because of the power is there. So he's the kind of guy that's going to probably feast on that kind of ballpark. So for him, it's not going to be as much of a home run tracker for it. Like we want to see like the little things, like him making more contact, him swinging on breaking pitches less, him handling. He struggled a little bit with breaking pitches in the zone last year. Seemed a little uncomfortable with what to do with it, how to approach it, and stuff like that. So those are the little things that we're going to want to see from him, as opposed if he wants to hit one out of the park, he's going to hit one out of the park. You stick him in Greensboro for the entire year, like I'd be willing to bet that he could come close to 30 home runs. Same with Tamar. I don't think if Tamar starts there, he's not going to be there long. Probably it's just it's the other things that we're going to want to see. We know we have power. We know he has the power. We've seen it in major league games now. With spring training. So we know the power is there, but that's not the thing that kind of held him back last year. He showed the power last year. It's the contact inside the zone. Like his zone strikeout rate in Bradenton was, I believe, anywhere between 70 and 75%, which is a little below average, what you want to see, especially for someone who had such a touted hit tool that he did. So I want to see him make, he doesn't chase, his chase rates were elite. Just want to see him be more consistent making contact inside the zone. And I think Greensboro maybe had him go away from that a little bit because maybe he was reaching for some added power. So we'll see if he's able to kind of get back to making more consistent contact and let the power come to him when the opportunity is there, as opposed to extending himself for that extra power.
Yeah. And I mean, you know how excited I am for Lonnie White Jr. I was excited. I think he got in the game today. I think he struck out, but
he struck out, yeah.
A healthy season from Lonnie White Jr. is what I'm looking for. Going back to what you're saying, Tamar Johnson, he was in Greensboro this past season, 30 games, 842 OPS there. Shang-Chi Chang, he only spent 57 games in Greensboro last season, showed some pop, not a ton of like home run, but he posted a 980 OPS, mostly because he's able to get on base, use his legs to stretch out for doubles. Because he knows that his value is gap shots, not really that home run. Small samples there. Chang got that promotion. Chang, Z, I think Craig told me last week, just call him Z, or a couple weeks ago, just call him that. Is it possible that with that home run heavy atmosphere of Greensboro that some of these top prospects are getting that more aggressive push to get out of Greensboro so they don't get kind of like stuck in that mentality, with the potential that Termar, especially with the spring he's having, starts in Altoona as a result of that?
I mean, I guess it's not impossible that we see him go to straight to Altoona. I just think that when you look back at, when you try to compare the two between Z and Tamar, the major difference is that Chang had a lot better of an approach at the plate. He made better contact, walked a little bit more. Well, I don't want to not walk more than Tamar. Tamar was elite at that. But like he showed more contact or more of a contact ability and stuff like that. So they felt more comfortable giving him the push there. Strikeouts really did go up with Tamar when he got to Greensboro. So he struggled with some of the swing and miss. There were a couple of like he's hit the ball hard, but you can clearly see that he's swinging for power right now in spring. And he's going for, like, he hit the one opposite field single he hit the other day. Like he was swinging out of his shoes there, and he was looking up to the right field pole to see if that's where he hit it, and it was a bloop shot to left field. So like I think that's where the difference can come. So I mean we'll see. We'll see. I think there's a possibility for him. I think there's more he can learn at the high A level right now. And he's still 19.
He is still 19. We talked about that with Arcolani, that it is beneficial to not press these guys, not have to push them forward. The window of contention is opening soon, but it's not there yet. You don't need to force these guys into roles when they're not ready, despite all the clamoring online for Tamar to be the opening day second baseman. For the bats who are projected to be in Greensboro this upcoming season, is there anyone who you especially think is like a breakout candidate?
So, I mean, there's a couple. There's some definitely. So my goal into this year is to not necessarily use breakout and Greensboro in the same sentence, just because you've already listed the sample size of disappointments with it, but there are a few like college level hitters that they've taken like they took last year that will probably, I would imagine, start in Greensboro this year. Garrett Forrester, Charles McAdoo, and Mitch Jebb. Again, like, well, okay, so Jebb's approach is I don't feel like this is going to be like a thing to where he's going to accidentally run into some balls and like all of a sudden we're going to be like, oh wait, does he have extra power? I don't think that's going to be the case. Yeah. Like his approach,
his launch angle is like 8 degrees. Yeah,
yeah, and that might actually be generous at that. It's
probably generous
at that point with it. Yeah. So he's a guy that probably not going to benefit as much from Greensboro, but he is a guy that if he comes out and he faces more advanced pitching and that contact rate and the swing and miss rate, which were both like among the best in all of minor league baseball last year. If those both carry over to a higher level, I think he kind of reaffirms his status as like a more of a top end prospect in the system. Forrester is a guy that's kind of been beaten into my head this offseason by some people that I've talked to as a breakout guy. He's a guy that Forrester and McAdoo would be the two guys that I would probably be worried about maybe people buying too much stock into based off their performance this year, because they can definitely have the kind of year that makes you, hey, these might be people, and then they get into Double-A and it's like, oh, what happened kind of thing. So Forrester, though, he seems like even MLB Pipeline's really high on him. They when they did like the top 10 first base prospects, they had him listed as like a guy who can be there next year kind of thing. So they seem, or like a breakout player at the position. So they seem very high on him. He walked a lot in Bradenton, the little bit that he played. Didn't really show much as far as like driving the ball. Most of the contact he did make was on the ground. So I'd kind of be interested to see how he does like in Greensboro. So, but those two, if you're looking for like a breakout kind of thing or someone who could make a lot of noise in Greensboro, I think those two are probably the most likeliest of candidates.
Yeah, definitely a team to watch when you're able to, because they're Island of not Island of Misfits toys, kind of on the island of their own. They don't broadcast their home games. Is there, because we talked previously, have had credentials, been able to get into games and do like press box stuff, essentially.
Mhm.
Is there ever going to be broadcasting of games from
Yeah,
Greensboro, or is this
they
just
they
a far off
broadcasted
pipe
their home
dream?
games last year. They broadcasted the home games
Did
last year.
they?
It was yeah, it was the first year. It was the first year that they did it. So and like it wasn't anything like
All right.
I think we figured it out like last year or like last minute.
So pivoting off that,
Okay.
will they be more actively on social media letting fans know of this?
I mean,
Because
that would be nice. I mean, I would settle for a lineup on a day to day basis.
that'd be something.
But
All right. Well, I'm excited. Like you said, there's going to be a ton of really great prospects who are going to cycle through there.
mhm.
It's fun stuff. I'm gonna, I guess, watch some of their home games now on MILB TV. But looking over to the spring training, Pirates finished up their first week of spring training. I'm not going to get into the individual games, but some standout performances. Tamar Johnson, we already mentioned, 2 home run game, one off a lefty, one off a righty. Had a few whiffs so far, but a 1.621 OPS over 13 plate appearances. Pretty fun. Henry Davis, 1.214 OPS, playing noticeably better defense at catcher. The old adage, if you don't notice your catcher, he's doing a good job. Nobody's saying anything about Davis behind the dish. I mean, I think there's maybe been like one game that was broadcast where he was catching, because it seems like every time he is catching, it's radio only. But like quietly being productive with the bat, and
Mhm.
seems to be becoming a leader. Obviously, Mackey with the Post Gazette wrote the article about what he was doing this offseason. Really fun to see that, because he wants to take command there. And then Key Brian Hayes. I mean, I think I talk about him every single day. My wife is sick of it. I'm getting her a Hayes jersey for her birthday, but um, I don't think he's had a batted ball with exit velocity under 95 this spring. Like, he just has
Doesn't seem
such
like
hard
it.
contact. He had a grand slam last week. Um, Still playing amazing defense. For spring training among hitters, specifically starting with here, is there anyone who you feel has been especially impressive, whom you've been surprised by in watching the games?
So like obviously the little bit we've seen, it was good to see Henry Davis come out and hit the ball the way that he's had. Obviously, like more of the attention is towards the defensive side of things for him, and I feel like that's game action, especially this early in spring. It's probably going to be harder to get a gauge on how he's doing defensively. It won't be until like they start playing like longer and deeper into games and stuff like that that you get a better idea. But like you said, like
Yeah.
we're not hearing anything on it, and like if they're like mishaps here and stuff like that, we're probably hearing about it more. One thing I do feel like he struggled with is like throwing runners out. Like for as strong of an arm that he has, like I think his career caught stealing percentage is like 16, 17%.
Yeah.
So not great there. So
Oh, they set
we
his
haven't
pop
really.
time when he didn't get the caught stealing in Saturday's game. Obviously, we're recording this
Mhm.
on Sunday night.
Yeah,
Saturday's game, I forget what they said his pop time was, but it was like 1.8 something.
which would
It
be
was probably
like
like 1.88, because Rio Muto's like 1.82 or something,
yeah,
right?
that would be a really strong. So like if he's getting you out quicker and stuff like that, that'd be a good sign to help since he does have that really strong arm. I think one
Hmm.
of the hit as far as hitters wise, like you mentioned mostly like Brian Hayes has been destroying the ball so far. Brian Reynolds has been hitting the ball really hard. Was it Gilberto Celestino? I felt like I've
Yeah.
been pretty impressed with. You know, he hit the grand slam. Has had some other hits. I think he's like stole a base or two as well, and then made like a play or two in
Uh,
the outfield.
2 stolen bases. Yeah, he had
Two
one where
stolen
he just
bases.
completely fell over. I don't know what that was about, but
Yeah.
yeah, 2 stolen bases. He's got a 1.134 OPS as of this recording, batting 467.
So like there's a little bit of a harder route for him to make the team because he's a non-roster guy, but and I don't think anyone has done anything so far to really cost himself a 40-man spot yet. I would probably say it's probably early to start talking about DFAing anyone.
Sure.
I mean, like we get like another week or two in it, then yeah, there's some names that are trending that way. I guess you can say. But for me, like a week is like, and we want to see if Celestino keeps playing the way that he is. So, but he's a guy that's kind of stood out to me so far too, as far as hitters.
Definitely the potential, because I mean injuries are creeping up, and we'll talk about that in a second. But on the pitching side, rotation is something that has been talked about to death this offseason. We mentioned like all the depth, the reinforcements are coming this past week. Mitch Keller, Marco Gonzalez, they kind of had some rust to shake off, didn't have the best start. Roansy Contreras, mixed results, but fastball's back. He's hitting 96 in his first start, in 95 in the second one. Martin Perez pitched today, looked really good. Just had the one hit. It was a home run, not great, but he's throwing 90 and he's getting strikes and getting swings and misses on it somehow. I'd swing and miss on it, but I think all of these guys can strike me out pretty easily. The guys who are in contention for other spots, though, also Quinn Priester, strong outing last week. Vila was back. Off-speed stuff was effective. Luis Ortiz, he had a successful appearance. I think it was just the one inning so far. Bailey Falter, not as much. He kind of got lit up in both appearances for him. But on the prospect side, guys a little bit further off, Jared Jones and Braxton Ashcraft. Holy cow. First time I got to see, obviously not live because I'm here in Pennsylvania watching the games, but getting to see like Ashcraft pitching, and it's just so filthy. So I've definitely underestimated him. Solomito, Harrington, they both had appearances, clean innings. And then obviously Paul Skeens, the game that was not broadcast, hitting 102 on the radar gun. Like, there are a ton of options long-term here. But what are some of your takeaways from spring training on the pitching side, as far as like what of the limited things that we've been able to see, what these guys have been able to do?
Yeah. So it was for me for Rowanzi, like obviously it's encouraging to see the velocity back up. There's still the matter that the fastball has been very hittable. Like I think he has like one whiff on like 10 plus swings or something like. So like he's still not missing bats with it, which I guess, I mean, it's spring training. I'm not really concerned. Like I guess there shouldn't be too much concern, or maybe don't read too much into it now. The one game that I think was on stream that he pitched, it wasn't very hard contact that it was. So I guess if you are going to allow contact, if it's soft contact, that's better than the contact he was getting last year with it, I guess. So that is a step in the right direction. Yep. I guess the next step you want to see is him to start missing bats with it more, because like if you look at it, and there's a tweet about it too. I can't remember who it was. They were talking about like the pitch metrics on the fastball and whatnot, and it's back up to what it was the year prior, where he was having a little more success. So that's like a step further in the right direction with it. We just need to see him continually taking that steps on there. So I guess maybe it's still not quite what you want to see, at least to me, but like considering the fact we're only a week into spring training, it's a step in the right direction, I guess. We just got to see if he takes another one forward.
The big thing, I don't remember now if it was Rowanzi or Priester, was about locating the fastball high in the zone. And whichever one it was, they were, for the most part, doing it. I think it was Contreras.
Contreras has his fastball like shape and stuff like that is more built to have success up in the strike zone than compared to Quinn Priester, who had his stuff isn't.
He mostly throws a sinker, so
yeah. So like with Priester, it's like if you look at his baseball savant page, like I can't remember I think it's the sinker he throws mainly against lefties, and the four seam he throws against. No, it's the sinker against. It's one or the other, and whichever one it is, the four seam was getting up beat pretty bad. So I guess for Priester, we want to see him to maybe take more of an aggressive approach with the sinker to both sides of the plate on there. And I think that maybe has something a little bit to do with like just his control and command overall. Maybe just getting more comfortable with throwing it against the opposite hitter. So.
But I mean, the off-speed for him at least. For Priester,
The sliders. Like I remember him coming up and all that, and then there's so much talk about the curveball and how good the curveball is, and it was good. It was one of the better curveballs in the system and throughout the minors and stuff like that. But slowly, as I've watched him, you can see the slider transform into like not only like a respectable pitch to like arguably his best pitch now at this point. Like it got hit a little bit hard last year in the majors and stuff like that, but like the outlier stuff with it, like the whiff rates and everything like that, I would probably say like, you know, he could still have success with it. But yeah. So like that breaking stuff.
I don't have the numbers up right now, but hang on, let me pull it up quick because I remember because I was able to run into him at Pirates Fest, and the big thing there was that I was like, "Hey, your slider is the best pitch." This is because I think it was like a sub 200 batting average against.
But then I think like the slugging was like they didn't hit it much, but when they hit it, they hit it fairly solid, I believe.
Oh no, the slider was 295. Oh, it was 295 expected batting average of 254. No, that's not great. Slugging of 659. All right, forget what I said. You know these guys better. Yeah. So the competition for that fifth spot is definitely heating up. And I don't want to say that like Falter has completely lost a hold there. I'm hoping that like he's able to turn things around because the team clearly values him, and there's certainly some potential, even if we end up having 3 southpaws in the rotation. I mean, is what it is there. But with this past week, injuries always an issue. We haven't seen any reps from Joshua Palacios, Andrew McCutchen. Both have reportedly been dealing with minor injuries. We don't know the extent on that. Additionally, announced today that David Bednar has a lat injury, and Dario Moreta had something going on, was pulled from the game. His velocity abruptly dropped. He had like 95 on the fastball, and then his last pitch was 89 something, holding his elbow at one point before leaving the game in the middle of an inning. Among those with reported injuries or whom we haven't seen yet, either like they've been delayed. I mean, Perez, we finally got to see him, and there was some concern there. But who would you be most concerned about missing time among the like missing players?
I mean, it would have to be Bednar at this point because like he kind of, I mean, signing Chapman helps like lessen the blow, but still you're talking about your 2-time all-star closer here at this point, like so that's. And I think that's a big thing. Is like I think it's a saying that's used a lot, but yet I don't think it's remembered until it's too late. But like this is why you can never have too much pitching, like because this stuff is going to happen. Like I heard there's like a lot of, I guess they're happy they brought him in because it shored up like a really good it shored up their best position group at the time. But like also people were upset about signing Chapman because there were like needs elsewhere. But like this is exactly what like you can go like I don't think I would have had a problem signing 2 or 3 extra relievers. Like if the money was in the Pirates' pockets to spend kind of thing. Like if they were going to go out there and just spend whatever and all that stuff, bringing in another 2-3 relievers would have been fine just because of things like this. Because you're going to have injuries throughout the way. And the Pirates have so many of the guys that are expected to start in the bullpen this year have the flexibility to go to AAA if need be to continue being depth. So like losing Bednar is like a big blow. Losing someone like McCutchen, who like you can obviously see like the shift in the teams, like he made an impact last year. There's no denying that with it. But if you looked at this at like a logical standpoint, it does open up the flexibility of the roster a little bit. If he were to miss time, it doesn't sound like he's going to miss time on there. I mean, and he's right. It's Andrew McCutchen. It's only a weekend. Most hitters, someone as veteran as him, you give him like 2 weeks to get ready. He's probably ready. All he's doing is DHing at this point. So like maybe there's just a faster adjustment. I mean, like this could just be hey, oh, you woke up a little bit sore. We're going to give you a little bit of break. That way we can see these other guys and get these other guys into games. And then the last 2 weeks, like he's in the lineup every day as a DH on there. And by it's all said and done, he had the same amount of at bats by the end of spring that he by just playing every day that he would by spacing it out this early. So,
yeah, I think the expectation is that he's going to be back in games sooner than later.
Yeah.
Among the concern about like the bullpen, I also heading into the offseason and I even made a list like, okay, well, they're going to get another outfielder. They got all of ours. They're going to get a first baseman. They got Rowdy Tellez. And I figured starting pitching and some relievers. Now, the only one they signed to the actual roster, to the 40-man, was Chapman, but they do have the NRI guys, Chase Anderson, Michael Plasmeyer, Willie Peralta. Obviously, we've got some non-roster invitees or minor league for Celestino, Billy McKinney. Among the non-roster minor league guys, who do you think is most likely to break camp with the team?
So I guess the unfortunate easy answer for right now, especially after today's news, is probably one of the relievers. And like right now, I think the non-roster reliever that's really stuck out the most to me has been Hunter Stratton. He was a guy that I was. I mean, it's hard to like. I don't think of him as a non-roster guy just because he was on the team last year. But like, I mean, he's a non-roster. He's not on the 40-man roster, but the cutter looks really good. Looked really good last year. He's a guy I talked about a little bit going into this spring as a guy that I was watching, and I don't feel like he's disappointed so far. The last game that he was in, like, struck out 2, looked really solid. Got a couple misses. So if we're looking at opened up roster spot with Dari Moreta, like, I mean, like, obviously it's too soon to say too much, but like, sure, if we're gonna have extra roster spot that way, like, I feel like Stratton would be a guy that would be ahead of the other ones as far as who I'd want to fill in at that spot.
Yeah. Stratton technically, if added to the 40-man, has 3 options because he was just added to the 40-man last year. Other guys like Brent Honeywell, I think he's looked really good this spring.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen him because he's only pitched in the radio games, but I've heard that he has a really good splitter, I think.
He's the guy with the screwball.
Screwball, okay. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it was like a weird one that is not one of the common ones. So, yeah, again, we'll see. We're not hoping that there is an injury, but it's good to have the depth options. And that's why you bring all these guys to camp and don't say that there's everyone's who's guaranteed a job, because these guys will want to compete and potentially get those spots if and when injuries happen, because they're inevitable. We had it last year. I mean, we're probably going to have it this year too. It's just the unfortunate reality of baseball.
Yeah.
So, excited. It's March. I mean, the season starts this month. We're a few weeks away. I haven't gotten tickets yet for any Pirates games this season, but I just bought my tickets to the first Saturday game for the Curve, Paul Skeens bobblehead. Okay. That rotation is apparently going to be really good, and I'll be talking about the Curve next week on our preview. But that wraps it up for all of us here at the 412 Double Play Podcast. Follow Murph on X at @double_Murphy88. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that there it is. Right over there under his face. YouTube, Anthony Murphy 338. I'm sure you're going to be posting, hopefully you're going to be posting those prospect videos as the season starts. Follow, subscribe to Bucks on Deck, get those daily emails, prospect information. Oh, and also mentioned it last week, but if you're a prospect junkie like me, check out Draft Nation 2024 Pittsburgh Pirates Minor League Guide. Oh, we both got our copies right here.
Yeah. I was just getting ready to be like, hey, can I do a quick plug real quick?
Yeah, no. So here's the thing. Interrupting my outro to kind of discuss this. I'm flipping through it, and I've got one prospect who I'm like, well, Murph must have written about this. And I get to Carlos Jimenez, and you didn't. I think it was
Yeah, it was all random. It was
yeah,
all
okay.
It was like it was random who we got assigned the scouting reports. And when I saw Jimenez was in the top 50, I was like, "Ooh, I hope I get him." And then and then I did not get him, and that was a little disappointing. But I did get like Jared Jones. I did get a couple guys
Yeah.
that I did enjoy writing. It was very fun. Like I had a blast doing it. I had a blast getting it. Now it was awesome. I'm really happy to be a part of doing that. And yeah.
It's super fun. I'm glad that we've got these guides so that I can get more information about the prospects, because there were some guys on here that I had never heard of. I haven't seen them on Fangraphs. I'm like, okay, learning something new from this book. I mean, you, Nola, John Drecker, who knows everything about like Pirates and prospects and is just like the number one source for that. David Finoli, who has written several books about the Pirates, including the '79 World Series, I think, run.
Yeah.
I've got at least one or two of his books. Interested, link's going to be in the description below. If you're interested in following me on social media, find me on X, 412 Double Play. Continue listening to the show, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever else you listen to podcasts. Subscribe so you get notified when we drop our new episodes. Read the articles from myself and fellow podcasters, steelcity.com. Thank you again for checking out the show. From all of us here at the 412 Double Play podcast, thank you for joining us. Let's go, Bucks. And let me go ahead and get the new outro here.
Lady Jolly Roger, dude.